Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What Do You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that will hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, we have failed you on that statement. As we disowned weebs of the What Do You Say Anime podcast, we'll be reviewing the 2010 anime Oreimo. Let's meet today's wanted criminals. First up, he needed an entire bottle of Jack to get through this show. We got Jay. Jay, how's it going?
Actually, I was drinking Bacardi, Cuba Libres to be specific, and this show made me lose the little respect I had for Johnny. I really hope that he does not become like a
You had
professional that
respect
I
for
have to
me?
respect for. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Not anymore though.
Good transition, because next up he is responsible for this travesty and making his final appearance on the podcast, because I can now allow this to happen again. We have Johnny.
You act like this is my fault when we live in a democracy where
It is-
you voted for it.
I did not.
I blame the system.
Me
It's
too.
not my fault.
Me too.
We live in a society and it's your fault.
I agree.
Honestly.
Except it's your fault. Next up, he's PD Pablo's #1 fan, but thankfully he kept his shirt on while watching the show. We have Kat. Kat, how's it going?
Yes, sir. I am going. I'm going. I'm a little bit tipsy, but I do have notes, and I'm ready to discuss. Also, Johnny, just to respond to what you just said, you were the person that made this possible. So that's on you.
Yes. Next up, making his debut, he is Miles' best friend and backup partner in crime. We have Galaxy. Galaxy, how's it going?
Hi. Good, except for having to watch this terrible show.
I was half expecting for you, Pete, to say Miles, not Galaxy.
Well, we do have Miles. He is also responsible for this because he's in charge of the votes. We got Miles. Miles, how's it going?
It's going okay. I had people that I used to respect, multiple people. It wasn't even just Johnny, who told me that this show, other than the incesty bits, was okay. And I believed them. And I don't anymore. I will never believe anything they ever tell me again.
Thank you for that, Miles. And we got Pat.
Up, guys? Yeah, let's talk about Ori no Imoto ga Konani Kawaii Wake Ganai, or Oreimo for short, which is translated as "My little sister can't be this cute." I really hope no one walks into my office and hears me talking about this show tonight, because I will have a lot to explain to them. But let's get started. This show came out in 2010. Looks like the fall season of 2010. Done by Studio AIC Build, who I've never even heard of before either. That's very they've literally, it looks like they've only done sister fucking anime. When you look
Specific niche.
it's very, I mean, I say that with a grain of salt, but still, like, no, that literally is what it looks like they've done. Let's do our first impressions of this show. Miles, why don't you start us off, buddy?
So, I expected this to not be good, right? But I expected it to not be good in a completely different way than it's not good. I expected it to be kind of trashy, maybe like a little ecchi or something, which it really wasn't for the most part. And to ultimately be about two siblings that want to have sex with each other. What I got, and what was apparent from the very start, not that. It was... this show is... I'll get into it more. This is propaganda. This is propaganda made by whoever this author is to try to convince people that incest and other very questionable things are okay, and that we should accept people for them. This is everything I hate about jobless reincarnation, but distilled into its purest possible form. Would I recommend this show? Maybe as an educational tool to like warn yourself against the power of propaganda, like through media. Just remember that the show is bad. This is a bad show. And nothing it says, even if you're for a second like, oh, that's just like me for real, it's not. You are not that person. Do not believe this show. I like some of the EDs, though. Anyways, I would not recommend this show.
All right. One non-recommendation so far. I wonder how many we'll get tonight. Kat, what about you?
Oh God. This show was a struggle. This was the only show that I actually paced myself on because I didn't feel like binging it. And to say that is it's a lot for me. Maybe not for you because you don't know how the way I watch. But to get into the show's nitty gritty, this show is one of the shows by an author who loves incestual shows, very lolicon type things, and basically everything that I dislike. Um, and first impressions of the show are terrible. It is, it's Oreimo. It is my little sister can't be this cute. I've told that to like 4 different people were at the brewery that I worked at, and they were like, "Yo, that's kind of fucked. Shouldn't the author be arrested?" And I was like, "No, they're just like Edgar Allan Poe. He's not like Edgar Allan Poe. He writes badly." And no, I would definitely
Thank you
not.
for the clarification, by the way. That was very important to me that you said
Yes.
that. So,
Yes, he is incestual, but writes badly. So he's just not Edgar Allan Poe. He is just a dude that likes incest. And because of that, no, I would not recommend this dumpster fire.
Well, I'm learning things about Edgar Allan Poe I didn't know about. So there we go. I've learned something tonight. Isn't that so valuable, guys?
he was into his cousin.
That's
He was. Literally.
Yeah, he was a literary person. You're right, Kat. Good job. Sorry, that was a terrible joke. Galaxy. Yeah, boo me all you
Get
want.
off the
Galaxy.
stage.
Yeah, seriously. All
I-
right, Galaxy, what have you got?
I usually go into most shows and try to see the good and stuff, but all I could find in this terrible dumpster fire of show was Claris's opening. There's not much more to say about this other than bad.
It's tough because like now I associate Clarissa's voice with this show most recently, and in my head I'm like I hear her singing or whatever. If we were playing like AMQ or something, and I heard a Clarice opening, I might be like, oh God, is it Oreimo? And like I'd have that, and then I'd have to remember that I thought about this show again, So I definitely see where you're coming from. All right, Johnny,
Yes,
say
Johnny.
something
Yeah,
positive.
yeah.
Say something positive about the show. No, I'm not going to pick on Johnny because at the end of the day, he did nominate it, but he can't vote for it. Only we can. So, in some indirect way, he had the least influence over this.
I didn't
You
vote
know-
Lied
for
to
it.
us.
No.
Listen,
I that was sarcasm.
that's
guys.
just
He obviously
democracy.
nominated it. Yeah. All right. Anyway,
That's just
continue.
democracy, Miles. Like you go up on stage, you tell everyone all these promises. Oh, it's not that bad. Oh, this is gonna make your life better. I think that what? I think this show has brought us together in hating me. So now, like,
Yes.
I brought a collective cause into like this Discord. I have made myself number one enemy, and like, hate is often the best way to get over your differences. The enemy of your enemy is your friend. So I think in that sense, I did a great thing. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, having sex with your sister. Yeah, no, not this show. Don't watch it unless. What am I supposed to say again? Just don't watch the show. I nominated this just because Has like pissed me off one day, and then I realized that I wanted to watch the world burn. So here you are. You're welcome, guys. And no, it's not my fault. You voted for it. I don't care.
Well, you did unite everybody in one common thing, which is something that politicians usually can't do and struggle to do. So I got to give you credit there. You're better than a politician, Johnny. Congratulations. Like that's just something that deserves to be
Like
applauded.
saying I'm better than the flies on a horse's turd.
You are just a horse's turd.
Okay, guys. Jesus.
I'm just grass.
All right, moving on.
Johnny was kind of spitting there for a second.
He
Yeah,
was.
I kind of want to go over everything that I liked about this show real quick. Okay, that was everything that I liked about this show. Sometimes I give the benefit of doubt of people writing anime for like the sake of sales. And you know what? Maybe this guy did this so he can make some money, pay some bills. He got the success from the show, and then you can write whatever you want going forward. And of course, he follows this up with Arrow Manga Sensei. So he gets no sympathy from me. I hope this guy gets... I'm not going to say something. I hope he stubs his toe or something like that. This show was hot garbage. It was terrible. I watched it. I regret doing this. I regret giving people the opportunity to vote for shows. I regret letting our audience vote for shows because I had to sit through this mess. Would I recommend this show? Yes, to the following people. Woody Allen, Jerry Sandusky, Jared Fogle, Jeffrey Epstein, the lead singer of the Lost Prophets, and R. Kelly. That's it.
Wow. Okay. That's
Oh shit!
scalding reviews so far, guys. Johnny, Jay,
Yes.
what have you got?
Honestly, to quote a great poet of our time, I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. Jesus, it never ends. It works its way inside. If the pain goes on,
I'm not gonna make it!
But yeah, that's pretty much how I felt
What
watching
is
this
this
show.
reference?
That's
It's
Slipknot.
Oh yeah, I should totally know who that is.
Yeah,
I
everyone
should.
loves
I really
Slipknot.
should. I should. Yeah.
I'm too young for it. It's fine.
I don't know, man. This is the type of show where, like, looking into talking points about this show made me actively lose faith in humanity. If you've ever played the, like, Darkest Dungeon games, you know how they can take, like, stress damage?
Yeah.
That was me.
Despair or whatever.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of Lovecraftian looking into this, because I felt like I was witnessing a dark primal side of humanity when people were saying that this show was good and that they appreciated it. And honestly, this show is just dog shit from everything. The only good thing is the OP and some of the EDs are solid. Everything else is bad. Character design's bad. Besides that goth girl that comes in later, motivation's bad for everybody. And I don't know, man. I just wouldn't recommend it to anybody. If
yeah,
get some help.
why people liked it, we'll talk about it later, but it like legit reminds me of like recruiting tools used by various radical political factions.
Yeah.
So
Like, I haven't seen a piece of anime propaganda this blatant since something
Attack
like
on Titan.
more like
I was
Darling in the Franxx or Gate is what I would say. So no, I would not recommend this to anybody.
Yeah. All right. It's my turn now. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this either. I didn't really expect to dislike it as much as I did. I think I expected to. I guess I trusted Johnny and then other people who
What?
thought that Johnny, I do trust you sometimes. I think
I'm
you
gonna
are
call him
very-
out. Trent had this at a 7.
Trent did too. There you go. So that's another person where it's like I could see, and I could definitely see where like if you were just watching
Steelers
it and not
fans like
thinking,
Galaxy.
yeah, yeah. Rip Steelers, by the way. Go Pats. Totally dating this episode, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I could see if you didn't think about this show, how you could enjoy certain things. Like again, the dialogue was kind of funny sometimes. The situations that they get themselves into or their hijinks are kind of funny, whatever. But then when you think about it and you remember that it's the siblings, literal direct siblings that are related by blood, like it's gross. It's sickening that it's even like you remember the movie that came out on Netflix, Cuties or whatever, and there was the discourse around, oh, is this art or not? Should this be allowed or not? I wouldn't put it that far, but I would say that this is gross because it's very clearly a person, especially based on his other work as well, someone who knows what they are doing and is trying to be like, hey guys, look, this can be normal. This can be totally normal.
From my understanding, regardless if you agree with the artistic decisions made in Cuties, it was at least a condemnation of child pageantry. This
Right.
is like the opposite of Cuties, where it's pro that. It's it's just like this is
See-
actually okay.
You know, I might get banned from the Discord for saying this, but
Then don't say it.
I think the author is a genius. I think he's using your hatred. Okay, here's the thing. You know, we all universally hate this show, but look at this. 7 people came to
By
watch
that-
Oreimo.
Well,
But
7
Think
people
about
came,
that.
seven people came to nominate shows for the next episode, so we wouldn't have to watch this again. That's
Yeah,
why
that is
we
literally
hated
the
it.
Well, they
only
could have
reason
just
why I
chosen to
came.
not show up. But they
Right, and
We don't trust you, Johnny.
then why would you nominate? Why would you vote for this show?
I did trust you. Also, I did make an agreement with someone else that I had to watch this for them to do something. And did I vote for this so other people would have to suffer with me? Yes. But
like-
I truly and honestly would like to apologize to you all. I did not understand the levels of suffering that this would be. I thought this would be like if her flag breaks or something. Not what we got. I didn't understand. And I apologize
Yeah.
from the bottom of my heart.
I accept your
You know-
apology, Miles.
Thank you.
Vote for the show that I nominated, and then I'll
Yeah.
really accept it.
Yeah.
All right, so we should really. All right, that'll wrap up our spoiler-free talking points or first impressions, whatever. Let's get started with our discussion about Oreimo. Yes. Who wants to go first in this wonderful, wonderful discussion?
I want to talk about Oreimo first.
Okay,
This is
Miles. Let's. All right.
I'm
someone,
so right. I'm so right.
someone get the TikTok clip machine going.
I-
here. We gotta be
This,
ready.
this is specifically, I want to say, the whole show up to this, but I think the confluence of this, of like my large issue with this show, and when I mean, this show actually tilted me. Like, I was in not a great place for a few days because of this show and just the fact that it existed and someone like wrote this, because it just seemed really exploitative of their like their marketing or whatever. So like a lot of people who like anime, right? Like, what a cool thing about anime is a lot of people who are like lonely or maybe, you know, aren't able to make friends and stuff can band together around a common hobby and interest and meet people and learn to socialize and all of that stuff. That's like a great thing about the community. Now, that particular demographic may or may not be a little more susceptible to certain ideas than other demographics. And in episode 5, this is the one right after Comic Cat, when the sister's friend, what's her name? This poor
Ayase.
girl.
Ayase.
Yes, poor Ayase is like, look, I found out Kirino plays games where you fuck 8-year-olds. And honestly, that's a little bit too weird for me. Don't know if I can deal with this anymore. Yeah, yikes. And then Kyosuke, the fucking horrible piece of shit person that he is like, nah, you're actually just being weird. It's not like she murdered anyone. I know that you said that, but we're going to draw this parallel to murder. And it's like, they didn't actually murder someone because they played the creepy lolicon game. They murdered someone because they were crazy or whatever it was. And that's supposed to be some sort of like point or whatever. It's like, oh, like liking this stuff doesn't make you a murderer. Yeah, no fucking shit, you didn't murder someone. It's just weird as fuck. Holy hell. Oh my god. It's so weird. It's so, go to therapy, Kirino. Go to therapy. Because, like, you need to, because it's weird. It's just really weird. And like, the complete normalization of it, it's like, oh, she likes a magical girl TV show. That's kind of weird. And, like, people will be like, I like magical girl TV shows. I'm not weird. I'm a normal person. And then it's like, yeah, and she also plays games where you fuck your little sisters. And it's like, those are the same thing. Liking a magical girl TV show, playing a game where you fuck your 8-year-old little sister are the same thing. And it's like, no, they're not. They're not. First off, like, I don't know, even if you want to, like, zoom way out and just be like, there's nothing wrong with like, don't kink shame or whatever. Like, making it your entire personality, it is her entire personality. It is unhealthy. I don't care if it was like anything. The shrine she has in her closet puts Pete's manga collection to shame. Like, it, like, as far as the amount of, Pete, how many rare secret edition manga do you have where the magical girl is naked in it?
2?
Oh.
Well, I was gonna say, wait. So this is Miles's long-winded justification, or he's huffing copium, right? Because
For the
he likes
record, it's
magical
0.
girl shows.
For the record,
know, well,
it's 0.
Okay.
What's
But,
in the
like,
back?
But, like, the thing about that is, like, I do like magical girl shows, but, like, you know, I don't know. Maybe that is a little bit weird. Who knows? But it's not as weird as the stuff Kirino does.
Right,
And, like,
obviously.
the complete normalization of it is insane. It's insane. All of your favorite fucking character Kiraneko or whatever it is, also, I want to say, actively pursues getting these two together for like the entirety of the first season through subliminal messaging. I'm pretty sure she's going to fall in love with the main character in season 2, so maybe she stops doing that. But oh my god, this whole thing is so gross. There are just so many spots where, like, Kirino even kind of knows there's something wrong with her because she's like hiding it, and she asks if it's okay, and it makes her weird. And then her brother's like, "No." This is really a really sad tale of a girl who tried to reach out to a sibling to get the mental help she needed and was instead enabled, and then they probably bang at the end of this. That's what Oreimo is about. It is depressing. It's just a whole bunch of people gaslighting each other. It's awful. Anyways, I don't know if anyone has a take on that or not, but
Yes, I would like.
Yeah, you got
to...
2 hours. Anyways.
So here's my take on this. This show is a lot like what you're piggybacking off of what you were saying. It also not only does it like actively appeal to these people, kind of like the propaganda point that you were making. It also makes the population, like our subgenre as a whole, look terrible, because like this is one of the most popular, like not popular but most infamous anime that people talk about. It is literally one of those like light novel titles, but it came out before the whole light novel craze, so it wasn't normalized. So then once you see, hey, my little sister can't be this cute, all of a sudden we're all seen as perverts.
Yeah, it's definitely not a show that's like recommended first by people, you know, it's or talked about like as like a good first show to watch. But it's I definitely do remember hearing about it when I was like, I don't know, first getting into anime. It was definitely one of the first, like, let's say like 100 shows I heard about or something, right? And that's kind of messed up. And I agree that that's why we have such a bad reputation, or it's one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons why weebs are looked at as fucking weirdos. But that's a different topic. But go ahead,
looking at this show as one of our like big cornerstones of anime, because like it's this and whatever the other one was, the
Aramanga Sensei.
Aramanga Sensei. Both of them are kind of like, oh, we're incestuous like kid fuckers. Like it's one of those things that like just makes us all look bad. I've had people like, when I talk about anime, because it's one of the things that I like doing, I like talking about, because you know, I'm like, we're talking about it here. They look at me like I'm gonna fucking hurt them or something. Like it's so fucking like this perpetuates the stereotype. Is basically what I'm saying. And it doesn't help at all. This show is terrible. It is demeaning to everyone who has watched it and everyone who is associated with it, and I wish it was expelled from the face of the earth. But here we are.
I think a big thing about this show, and kind of was bouncing off what Miles said, was that I think a lot of people just view this as like a show where like it's not real, like who's harming, like who's getting hurt when you watch like a show like this. And to me, who somebody is more involved in the community, whether it's like running a Discord server or having meetups with people that are involved in the same sphere as I am, especially at like, say, like cons or other events similar to that. And when I see, I think this is a good episode to like plant our stance on like where we are as a podcast. When I see people wearing like a Hagao gear and they think that's funny, but I'm so involved in this community, it's like I understand kind of why people think that the anime community is fucking weird or like it's full of weirdos, because if I saw somebody like that as well, then I would have that same like connotation as well. But it's more of like, there's also like the thing with the propaganda side where we have like giant content creators, say like Giguk, who makes like his entire like early career around Oreimo and got his fame from kind of memeing on it, but in like result having an influence on new people entering the sphere thinking that this type of behavior is okay. And then I have to deal with it when I try to hang out with people or meet new people or try to like you guys, Miles and Pat, who are like moderators in Discord. Sometimes it's hard to feel out people in this community when they say join our Discord or we enter other people's Discords. Where do we draw the line and stuff like that? So I think this is a good opportunity for us to kind of like plant our flag and be like, if this is the type of show that you like, I'm sorry, please do not join our Discord. It's stuff like that. It's disgusting. This show is appalling. It honestly it like hurts me because like it is a huge part of my life. Like I met all of you guys through something like this where we share similar ideas and we're not fucking weirdos. So I know I try not to get like super involved with like being like controversial or anything like that, but it's shows like this that just drive me crazy. Pat, I mean, someone's itching to say something.
I thought it was hilarious that you just called us Discord mods, like unironically, not
yeah,
and,
okay,
like,
yeah, not me being.
Didn't mean that as in like the insulting way.
I didn't even think about it.
I just
Discord moderator.
It just made me laugh because I was like, "Damn, Pete, that's what you think of Miles and I as Discord mods?"
you gamer Discord mods.
No, but I definitely get where you're coming from. This kind of show frustrates the shit out of me too because it's like Kat was saying. How do you talk about anime in front of like and that's the thing too. You can talk about anime in front of someone who knows nothing about it, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool. Like I get it. I can get the appeal." But you never know if you're talking to someone who knows anime because of a show like this, or knows the negative stereotypes that anime has because of shows like this. And if you do bring it up to them, then they're gonna look at you and be like, "You're a fucking weirdo," and it sucks. It really does. I mean, yeah, I talk about it. I think I've made that stance many times in past content we've done. So There's no doubt there that I don't know. I call people. Never mind. I won't say it. But yeah, go ahead, Miles.
I do want to say, like, I understand why someone would like the show. If you're not really like, if you're like young, you're lonely, you're like a lonely otaku or whatever. Technically, one of the messages of this show is that like you are not alone. Like you have people you can share in your hobbies with. You have like, I get why that's important to people. And there are other shows that have a very similar message, like say Wodakoi or whatever, that don't really go through. They don't tack on the and also bit of this, but like what I'm going to say is like if you watched the show 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you really liked it because it spoke to you as someone who was lonely, who didn't have friends, who wanted to be part of a community and everything. Like I get that, and that's great. Try to understand that the show also does what I consider to be some like pretty nefarious things, and like just because it says that you belong doesn't mean that the show is also a great show that purely has a positive message to it. I think that it's okay that you did like the show. Like I get why someone would. Johnny, you had something to say.
Yeah, so it's funny you bring up like the whole part about like, hey, like if you like these kind of shows, you get looked down upon. Because like, so like back in high school when I was like, just like starting to get into this, like this is something that like that's like something you said like kind of stuck with me because I remember I was like walking in the halls with my friends and then suddenly I hear something, and like at this time like I watched anime but I was at the point where like I wasn't comfortable really talking about it with anyone, and then I just hear somebody in the hallway like in the hallway so just start talking about Eromanga Sensei, and I just looked at him, I was like, oh my fucking god, it's just like this is why it took me so long to like even like as cringe as I like even like accept that I like this, because this is like it's not I like this, it's that like people associate that with like other things, and like it took me a while. I think it took me like 2 years after I started watching anime to like actually accept myself. I remember I would cringe at myself typing up anime names in Google. That was the level of like self like that's the word.
Loathing?
Yeah, self-loathing, I guess. It's just like, so like I get where I do get that feeling from the show, and like looking back at this, like I don't know, I feel like if I watched this back then I would have absolutely hated it. Honestly, if I watched it now I would have still hated it. But like one thing I wanted to bring up is like, so like if you think this show came out today, do you think like everybody would be pissed off at it, or do you think it would be like
No.
have the same reputation it had in the
No,
past?
'cause
That's
shows
a
like this-
great question.
No,
I
because shows
Because
like this
I
still
feel
come
okay.
out.
The thing is, I feel like this show came out during the peak era of like anime cringe, where like you would just make fun of the weebs because that was a perfect thing. Like this is like early 2010s like memes where it's just like you just make fun of the kids that watch anime kind of era.
It was the etchy romance thing, like the To Love Ru. It was the Love Hina.
It's like
it was like that.
it was
sphere
cool
of
to hate
romance.
anime. It was cool to hate anime at that time,
It still
which is why. I mean, yeah, to a level.
I
Always has
disagree.
been.
Yeah, it always has been. I think nowadays though it's getting more and more mainstream, at least in the West.
Oh,
I
yeah,
agree.
was-
I think Western perspective would definitely be different nowadays than it was, let's say, however long ago. You know, I bet people would be like, "Wait, what the fuck? Why is this a show?" You know, which I
Yeah.
guess we are like now when you're a normal, well-adjusted person. But like,
Somewhat.
well, maybe I don't know. Galaxy, you had a point that you wanted to make as well on this.
I feel like with all you guys are saying, this show has made me a worse person. Like,
Yeah.
I like watching
How
anime,
you
I
take it.
enjoyed it, but this has truly just made me sad. Like, how can you like this?
Okay, I'll just say this: it's like if you like it, but you understand that you shouldn't, at least that's a step in the right direction because you know that it's a problem. Because the first, see, like the first, obviously, like people say this all the time. The first step to solving an addiction or whatever is to admit that you have a problem. So just that first step is already pretty important.
Again, the way people like this, there is a scene in this where I caught myself feeling bad for Kirano. I don't remember what episode it is. It's in the middle of the show, and she's like crying because of how much like her hobby or whatever has upended her entire life, and she's like talking to her brother and asking and like pleading with him to like, she's like, "You made me like come out and like do all this stuff, like please stick with me. You have to bring me through this because I wouldn't have been able to like be myself without you." Which is like, so if the show wasn't about what it was about, it's a very good message. I can, you know, like again, that is the nefariousness of it, but I understand why that connects with people. I absolutely get that. If you are someone who feels like they have been ostracized, you know, or whatever for liking what you like, and if it's completely normal stuff that happens to fall in like Kirano's wheelhouse, just like anime or manga or whatever, like you're gonna probably feel a connection with that. Like, but I think that's what the show is intended to do. It's intended to say like, this is okay, and also now incest is okay. Like, you know, just so that this author can validate himself or whatever. But like, I think that's how people like it, Galaxy, if that makes sense. Because I do think that like, in a very twisted way, there's ways to interpret the messaging behind the show as positive.
I completely get like the whole good aspect of it, but still, I can't ignore everything else to
Oh.
where it just cancels it out.
I agree, but when someone is, if someone's in a dark place, lonely, alone, it becomes a lot easier to ignore the flaws of people who are willing to accept you.
Yeah,
And
for
this
sure.
show is for sure willing to accept everyone except for potentially gay people, but that's not.
Oh, wait, in
Let's
season
not
2,
go
they
on
fixed
that topic.
In season 2, they fixed that. Don't worry about it.
That was,
Explain how they fix it, please.
Someone's a yaoi fangirl.
That doesn't
yes,
fix
they
it.
have someone
Oh,
who
that-
fetishizes
person-
it.
So
doesn't
that
fix it.
automatically makes it okay.
Thank goodness they do
But,
that
okay.
because otherwise I would have had to cancel this show. You
The
know,
show cancels itself. It's okay, but and like I want to my mouse. Like I want to ask you something.
Yes.
So it's just so like you know you were talking about how like there's probably groups of people who like as we said is like they know that they shouldn't like this show yet they still do and then they hate themselves for it. I think that like and like this is like a really hard thing because I don't really have a solution for this, but it's just like when you alienate people like that, they tend to form groups around themselves and then like it reinforces themselves. It's like they make their own echo chamber where they try to justify it to themselves.
Yeah,
Like,
which is why I said Kirano should go to therapy and not Kirano should be murdered or whatever.
Yeah, so
right?
then,
Like,
so then here comes the issue of like, how do we tell these people in the right way that
I mean,
like even
yeah,
if you like this show, it's not something that like should be seen as normal. Yeah, but you're also telling them that like you can be normal.
I mean, I think you point like I think the way to go about that, and I'm interested in everyone else's take, would be like because I have friends who watched this 10
Yeah.
years ago when they were lonely and they liked the show and they probably liked it because it had people who had the same interests as them and it was like willing to accept them and they couldn't even accept themselves at the time, right? And like I understand why you would like that, but I was talking to them afterwards, like as I was watching the show, and I was like, you have to like look at these screen grabs, like look how it sexualizes very small children, even if they're and it's not like a very nefarious sexualization, but like in contextually it's very like what the point of these games are. And like that's not good. And you can explain why that's not good, because like even if you want to be like soft on that, at the very very least it's really really weird, right? Like so like really weird. So like I think you just need to like one, not freak out at them, and then two, explain why, and then if they're willing to reevaluate or they seem like they're biting some, you just keep them in your environment where you're trying to be a positive role model and they learn through osmosis because they all of a sudden do have a group that accepts them and whatever. Now, on the other hand, if they're very militant about it, you might have to chalk
Yeah.
that one up as an L and
Yeah,
just remove them from the community. But that's my thought on it. Like, you don't want to ostracize people who are already feeling ostracized, as you pointed out, because that is how people like quadruple down on this sort of stuff, right? So
In this thesis, I'm going to prove how Origairu led to our current political state with and led to Trump's election in 2016.
Oh, don't put
Yeah.
Origairu in this
Orimo.
conversation.
Shimon did
Orimo.
make everyone
Sorry.
hate him, so in a
Orimo.
sense, I am him.
Someone
There-
fix that with Oreimo. My bad. Yes.
there
I-
are some similarities between the show and Origairu, by the way.
Oh,
I'm gonna
let's
stop
let's
you.
go there.
I do want to reemphasize that, like, just because you liked the show does not inherently mean that you are a weirdo. It does not inherently mean any of that. What the show is trying to promote is weird, and that is problematic. The show is also like you do not necessarily need help because you like this show. You should evaluate why you liked this show. You should weigh that against the negative aspects of this show, and then you should figure out where to go from there. That's my thought. I don't think anyone who necessarily liked the show is like irredeemably weird or anything like that. That
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just
So
want to clarify that. Like
let
again,
me rephrase it. So people who are looking for people who like this show because of the message that it is okay to have a group around like anime, or a group that people that in personal experience will not mess with your life, will not hurt other people. That is okay, and you should be emboldened by that. Maybe, maybe not being the most loud about it, but just having solace and confidence in the fact that you are who you are, and this makes you who you are. Kind of like that one episode in Oreimo. You are who you are. What you do makes you who you are, and you should have confidence in that. The issue comes when, like Miles was saying, there is this subtle extra like moral that is being righted on to this, that is basically saying, hey, incest is cool, guys. And the thing is, the author doesn't have a sister. He just came up with this. They're just, if you like this show for that reason, I humbly ask you to go and get some help. Anyway.
I want to talk about a subject that is just as serious as the one that we just talked about for the last half hour. Guys, I need your opinion. Why didn't he just close the laptop?
They wouldn't have been able to open again.
Why not? Why not just close the laptop?
Okay, it acts like an adhesive when it dries.
Okay.
It's just bad writing.
It was legitimately terrible writing, and like, this might sound weird, but nothing took me out of the show more than that scene, because
He wanted her to see it. Maybe there was like a dark side inside of him that like, I want you to know that this is who I am.
Maybe.
Maybe, like, I don't know, but like, I thought it was clever that she did like the double bluff, where she put the thing on like the faraway thing and then had all of the porn that looked exactly like his childhood friend on the bed. But alternatively, he could have just closed the laptop. And it really, I don't know, I just thought that was really bizarre. Also, guys, why didn't he just wife up the childhood friend?
Because he is because the author needs money.
That's not his sister,
So-
silly.
So
Yeah.
so I was going to bring this up. I wanted to ask you guys if it would be okay, instead of having our best girl debate inside of our closing thoughts, actually having a set point where we can talk about our best girl, because this is more of an actual talking point rather than a closing thoughts point. Manami is obviously the best choice. One, like, she's the same age as him. Two, she's actively trying to show the reasons why she would be a good wife. She's actively trying to help him. She's actively trying to be nice to him. She's actively trying to go out of her way to have her be like feminine in his eyes, like trying to be this perfect choice for him, because like honestly, in a normal mind like, Manami is the obvious choice.
I mean, does anyone disagree with that sentiment?
Sayori, she has spiral glasses.
Sayori is also
She's also
super
rich.
rich.
Sayori is
And
also
I
super
wanted them to okay, this is another complaint I have about the show. They never explored that. We learned Sayori is the weird otaku Batman version to her own Bruce Wayne, and we just never get that explored.
Season 2.
Apparently, I'm looking
trying to
at
make me watch
spoilers
season
and
2.
season. I'm looking
You're
at
gonna do it
spoilers and they
anyways,
go
Miles.
into it in
Nothing I say
season 2.
matters.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because I did kind of like some of these characters. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts on the characters were.
She likes Gundam, so
Yeah, like, I mean, I liked Sayori's character. I liked her old-timey talk. I felt bad for Ayase. I liked Monami. Like, I genuinely thought she was nice. I also thought what a wonderful, I guess literary would it be? Oh, this is originally a light novel, right? Okay. What a wonderful literary device to use her as a foil to the sister. So we're all very curious why Kirano hates Monami so much. What a open-ended mystery that is, that doesn't have an extremely obvious answer to it. Jesus Christ. That was another thing. People were surprised that the brother and sister, like,
Okay, wait, okay,
spoilers for season 2. No, I'm not saying you were, Johnny. I'm saying
like,
the discourse was that people were surprised.
okay, let me make this clear, okay? People were surprised not because it happened, but how it happened. The main character straight up goes on like his Joker arc. He like goes completely mental out of nowhere, and you don't see it coming at all. It's the same thing that happens in season 1, where like they release a quote unquote normal ending, and then they release an OVA where like the entire dumpster gets hit with a nuclear meltdown. You know, like, I'm not gonna talk about that here because we weren't supposed to watch season 2, and I don't think anyone here wants to. So that's all I'm gonna
That's
say.
where you're wrong, Johnny. That's where you're
Oh,
wrong.
you're welcome to watch it, and you can share in my suffering.
Anyways,
totally
Kat
will do
suggested
that.
we talk about our best girls. Does anyone have a best girl that they would like to talk about?
I
The
think
mom.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go Monami
mom.
just because she's the only one that's kind of not adding fuel to the fire. Everybody else to me is like near garbage level of characters. For even Sayori, kind of like as much as I enjoyed some of her hijinks, I still didn't enjoy like her character in general. Where Monami just kind of seemed like the one who actually had like an ounce of logic in her head. So some of the like the characters' dialogues drove me crazy. Where like the group is doing so much for Kirino, and she doesn't do anything for anybody else. Like she is the most selfish person in the entire world. Where I think she says thanks like twice. And so when I see characters like going out of their way and bending their backs for this character, I'm just like, why? It's not like a tsundere fun. It's just like a tsundere. You're just an asshole. So like anybody who's involved with Kirino, I just don't like as a character. And Monami is like essentially the odd one out because she has like one minor interaction with her. So that's kind of like the basis of my best girl is a character because she barely hangs out with the main character. So yeah, I'm going Monami.
Okay, Galaxy, you're here to defend the honor of what I'm reading is your favorite anime character of all time.
I respect him. I respect
Definitely
him.
not.
Yeah, I respect.
Look, I'm reading the text you said right here, and it says, "I love her so much. She is my favorite." Wow. For everyone listening, that's not true. He did not say
Steelers
that.
fan, Galaxy.
But you did want to
Also
talk
not a
about her,
Steelers
Galaxy. Galaxy. He's a Chiefs fan.
He's just Mike Tomlin.
Sure. How I view Kuro Neko is just apart the main cast because Monami is best girl. Is that I like how she's just all against Kirino at times, but also like when she in episode 9 when she's with her little sister, she shows the softer side at times.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, I mean, I don't know. She seems like a relatively normal person, right? Like, she makes fun of Kirino for being into extremely degenerate weeb stuff. She likes Code Geass, which is a relatively normal show, you know, and she's nice to her sisters. She talks about having to bathe her sister, and Kirino, like, licks her lips or something, which is literally one of the grossest things that has ever happened in the history
Very
of
much so.
television.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh god, it's just so psychotic. But, like, I mean, I did like Kironeko character. My issue is that she does seem to be actively supporting the incest route. And I don't know if that's to ruin Kirino's life. Like, maybe it's just like a really like big brain play. I did think her comic was pretty funny, where she wrote the comic about how much of a bro-con Kirino is. And Kirino was like, I don't do that, but it was like all stuff she very obviously did. And do you not remember that, Johnny?
That's episode 11.
No, he didn't sniff her boxers. What the fuck?
No, that's
in the
like
manga.
you know,
See it.
it'll happen. It's been a motif.
I
It was
have
the way
the power
around.
of foresight. It does not happen.
Maybe it's just not on screen because she does get that game entirely around stealing your brother's underwear and sniffing them. So she's clearly at least into it.
No, she's into the unique storytelling that game puts off, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that-
read
that-
Steins
Yeah.
Gate.
A lot of
Um,
nuance in
Yeah.
sniffing your brother.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. I thought that was funny. I thought it was really interesting. Does anyone else have a best girl that they care enough about to talk about? By the way, cool. We are having trouble, and I would like our listeners to bear with us of staying organized here. And it's because I and probably Pat don't really know how to tackle this show in a cohesive manner. Was there any episodes you guys liked? I kind of liked that girl who pretended to be Meru Meru because she hated everyone, and I liked that little like switch on, switch off sort of thing. And then she threw the figurine in the trash. I thought that was funny. Anything anyone thought was funny?
Oh, I have one thing.
I didn't smile one time this entire show. It was
Okay.
kind of crazy.
I have one scene and no one else has it. The one where so like Sayori like sets up a party for Kyosuke and then names it Kyosuke's personal harem party, and then the receptionist is like stare at him, is like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? I thought that bit was pretty funny.
Yeah, I like that episode. I mean, I like that part of that episode.
The only time I like laughed was when they went to Summercat and they had like the decals on the car, and there was like a Fate spinoff, and it was just called Kate. That was it. That's literally the only time I laughed this entire series. I the fact that this has a comedy tag on it is criminal because this show was not funny.
Comedy's subjective. I think that it was trying to be funny.
Trying.
I agree with you, Pat.
It's like
So
how
that's why
Johnny
it's a
tries to be
comedy.
funny. Yeah.
Oh, Pete.
Yeah.
Don't be that. No,
Pete,
don't be that.
Pete,
crude.
Pete, you know, I'm trying to help you out here. As the Discord's only clown, you need a partner.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, there we go. Johnny was
See,
funny
we all
enough to
just
make
laughed.
Pete.
It's
That was pretty
laugh.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have an episode that is actually funny to me because much like Jay, I only laughed twice during this whole show. The only part that I actually genuinely enjoyed, like one of the actual laughs that I got, was from Manami's episode when they were at her house because her whole family was rooting for them to get together. Because why would you not? I mean, you've got.
Anime.
Shut up, Johnny. Talking about real life. This was actually a real situation. Of course, he would go with Manami. Manami is like the best character by far. And then we have Kuroneko and Kirino and Sayori. God, I fucking hate just like Manami is the obvious best character. It's just there, and it like I would love for this to have gone from a weird incest show into like an actual romance between Manami and Kyosuke.
Apparently, it
would've-
turns into a real romance between Kyosuke and Kuroneko for a little bit. So
I know
that's-
that.
suboptimal, but better than Kirino.
Yeah,
Mm.
but like still that's like a 15, 16-year-old dating like an 11, 12-year-old.
Oh my god, are they? That
No,
No,
they're like a
it's-
year apart.
yeah,
like a
yeah,
year
you're
apart.
right.
No, he's
Yeah, no,
a sophomore in high
Kyosuke-
school.
He's a sophomore, and she's
Yeah.
like.
Kuroneko
no.
is 15, 16. according to
Kyosuke,
Mal.
Kyosuke is 17, Kuroneko's 15.
Thank goodness we cleared that up. That makes the show so much better. I mean,
Yeah.
It
for
makes
sure.
the show a little eensy bit better. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I will say this isn't the most degenerate show that this author has written because Aramanga Sensei is just this, but everyone's 11.
Yeah.
So,
that
This
really
is
how old
this is worse
they
than Aramanga Sensei.
do you think so?
Yeah.
I
Because
don't.
Aramanga
Even though-
doesn't go that far.
Everyone is much, much, much younger in Aramanga Sensei.
Yeah.
And it's a lot
It's hard to
more-
describe because that show is also like pure trash. So it's like we're comparing giant piles of poop. Like which one's the worst? They're both just giant piles of poop.
Do you think it's personal preference then at this point? Which one is more garbage?
I mean,
Okay.
this and Aramanga Sensei are both bottom 5 shows all time for me. So that's kind of the level that they're at. But like if I had to put one above the other, I would put Aramanga Sensei a smidge higher than Oreimo.
I would definitely like to say something about this. So
oh boy.
here's the thing. Between Oreimo and Aramanga Sensei also has the ecchi tab. In Oreimo, we do see panty shots. And it is very fucking uncomfortable. Like, it is like, why are you showing us this? They are young and we don't need to see that shit. Like, Aramanga Sensei is obviously, like, they are very, very promiscuous with that. Like, and it doesn't help that they're also younger. And it just...
Yeah, I don't know. This show wasn't great as far like I definitely felt uncomfortable whatever episode they like started with a zoom in on Kirino's panties. But
That's the OP.
being 100 here, like this as far as like anime goes and like having like butt shots and panty shots and stuff, like Sword Art Online season 2 is worse.
I thought this show did it a lot, but it was never like it's gonna sound terrible. You can see her labia, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
wasn't like
it
No Game
wasn't
No
like
Life, right? Like
it wasn't like light or softcore porn. It was just like, oh, it's a shot that's really tasteless if you're someone like us who doesn't like that kind of shit.
more tasteful than No Game No Life. I think that's important to drive home. That
Right, something like that, right? Where it's not like, oh, haha, they don't have tits, so they're technically not showing their boobies right now, right? Like that kind of thing. Like I don't know. I think that there was plenty of those moments though where it was like, okay, why did this camera linger like this? Why did they pan up this way? It happened a lot when
it
I
did.
was watching.
It for sure did. Like anytime she got anything from a closet, right? It
Mm.
was like Callan was piloting a mech in
Code Geass.
in Code Geass,
Yeah.
right? Which is like they never show Lelouch or Suzuko from that angle, but whatever. You get at me. It's like, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing that anime does. I didn't think the show was particularly egregious in the grand scheme of our egregious media, if that makes sense.
I get it. I agree. All right. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm sick of talking about this show, and I really don't know what else we can say.
I just want to say, there's not a ton to say. Galaxy, I want you to say something because you're new, and I like picking on you. So,
I was just, yeah. God.
What do you want me to say, Miles?
I
This is the worst show I've ever seen.
Okay, what did you think about? I think this is the first anime I have ever seen with actual cum in it. What were your thoughts on that?
You watched
When was that? Like
Evangelion?
legit, I was looking for it and I
right.
never noticed it.
Yes, this is the second. So in the
I was gonna
picture,
say Evangelion's definitely.
Yeah,
Evangelion.
it's Evangelion's the first one I've seen, but that scene's great. So whatever.
Okay.
No, so when he's looking at the porn with the girl with the glasses on, her face is covered in man juice. But if you didn't notice
go
that,
that deep into detail.
it's fine. I mean, I noticed it because I was already pausing it to be like, "Why did you make me watch this?" to someone who made me watch this, and then I noticed that. And anyways, I'm really glad that I only noticed that detail. I'm glad we're going to edit this segment out.
I was
just trying to get through as fast as possible.
I'm gonna make
He's just a sucker for the details.
I'm gonna make a YouTube short. I'm gonna make a TikTok of this. It's going everywhere, baby.
I can't wait.
I haven't been using my
Already
corporate
canceled.
model
Perfect.
for-
So as I was saying, we have nothing good to say about this show. We have nothing to talk about with it either, because I don't think any conversation that we could possibly have surrounding the plot, character motivations, character designs, character decisions, anything like that could not devolve into an incest is bad conversation. I really don't think there's anything that we can talk about that would not have that happen at this point.
Really quick,
Side note.
No, Kat. What, Miles?
really quick, yes or no? Do you think that they know that they want to fuck each other yet?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Yes, they have to.
Mm,
They have to. Carino knows. Like,
The sister does.
Do you think that like maybe
she
they-
knows.
like, okay? Do you think that they know, or that they've buried the fact that they know deep inside themselves and they'll never acknowledge it until season 2?
Lila column A, Lila column B.
yes, sir. What's our psychological analysis of Kirino?
She's insane.
Kirino wants to fuck her brother, but
Yeah.
the brother doesn't know that he wants to fuck her.
Yes, he does.
He has to.
That's the entire part of her Eroge games. Is
Find
little
out in
sisters
season 2.
fucking brothers. It's
in the
clear
first
as day.
episode, he goes, "There's no way," and then he goes like, "Nah," and he definitely knew at that point.
He
Like,
sure thinks about it like a lot.
yeah.
Like for someone who says he doesn't love his sister, he mentions the fact that he's in love with his sister romantically at a relatively high clip.
If it
So-
walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Or it's a
However-
goose, and you're just not an expert at.
It's a swan.
Ornithology.
He'll grow up to be a beautiful swan.
That's it. All right, sweet. All right, so now that we have nothing else to say about this wonderful show, let's move on to our closing thoughts and scores. Miles, please start us off with your closing thoughts and your score. Let's try and keep these to a minute or less too, because we get it. The show sucks. It has a lot of incest. It's terrible. It's a bad representation of the anime community. What were your final thoughts otherwise for everybody?
Yeah, so I didn't like this show. I actively disliked this show. The show says a lot about me because I dislike it more than I dislike Shield Hero, which I traditionally very much dislike. I thought there were some bits that were funny. I probably thought it was funnier than, say, Pete or Jay did. However, You could have put those shows in a show that was completely normal, and I would have laughed at them and given the show like a 6 or something. Anyways, I might finish this just as a exploration, but I also might not. I have to talk to the person I owe both of these seasons to see if I can get out of it.
That's a copium right there.
It
That's
really
copium.
it is. I've never done this before. This is a 1 out of 10.
Let's go.
Miles with a 1 out of 10. We're off to a hot start for
show is
Oreimo.
actively evil, so it gets a 1.
Fair enough. Kat, what about you, buddy?
This show is one of the shows that I actually thought that I had watched. I only had watched Aramanga Sensei. This is not as bad as Aramanga Sensei. But that is not to say that Aramanga Sensei is not terrible. This show is trash. Like, terrible, like Appalachian trash. This is fucking awful. And I would not recommend this. For my actual score for this show, because again, it's fucking terrible. I had Aramanga Sensei at a 4. I'm now going to push that down at a 1, in order to give Oreimo also a 1.
Oh snap!
Yo, we're on our way there.
Yeah, we're making progress. All right, Galaxy, what do you think? What's your final score and thoughts?
Episode 9 legitimately made me feel physically ill. And when I finished this show, I almost about cried. I was so happy I was done with it. This show is a 2, just off the fact that Claris's opening is such a banger and re-energizes me.
You're not over, Galaxy.
I'm over for now.
We made a deal. Because
Let me watch Kagi Shoujo first.
there is a cycle of abuse. You can put it off as long as you want, buddy, but I'll remember.
Well, I'll remember because it's recorded now too. There we go. All right, Johnny, what have you got?
All right, so first of all, you're welcome.
Yep.
Second of all, in terms of like actual quality of this show, probably like a 2 or 3. But I will say, I rate shows sometimes not on their quality, but their entertainment, and I find the suffering of other people quite entertaining. It's like you watch the car burn, and then you realize you're the one that has the lighter. You're the one that did it. And, that's just, man, that makes you feel something. So this is a 10. No, I'm just joking. It's that I'm only half kidding, but in terms like, it is fun to talk about this show to a certain level, just because you can collectively just punch it to the ground. So just because of that, and not because of like how I feel about the show objectively, I'm gonna give it a 5. Because it's all 4 of those points above 1 is just because it makes Pete suffer.
Fair enough. All right. Pete, you're next, actually, so good timing. What do we got?
This show did something no other show has done before, which is completely skew how I rate shows. Going into this, I only had one show ever rated as a 1. I was going to keep it that way. The worst show I've ever watched was only going to be the 1 on my Mal. I now change this. I'm not going to have a 1 in a completed anime along with the shows that I've dropped. So now I have 2 1 out of 10 shows. So I am giving Oreimo a 1 out of 10, and may God have mercy on my soul.
A 1, and what is the other one that it is also on the same level with?
That is The Blesser of Einhar and Master of Ragnarok.
Ah, good shows. There you go. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Jay, what have you got?
Like I said, honestly, I really just did not crack a smile during this whole thing. The only things I kind of enjoyed were some of the music they played at the end, as well as the OP, like Galaxy said. I would not recommend this to anybody. I think I'm also going to join Pete here and say that this is also my second 1 on, well, it would be a 1 on Mal, but I always go 1 lower than the Watch Club on Mal. So this is actually a 0 on Mal, and thus will not be recorded in history, as it deserves. This should be erased from the slate of time.
We should remember
honestly.
this forever.
And,
should
well,
build a
fair
monument.
enough. We
Forget.
don't want to repeat history. We don't want to repeat history. So this is a 1 for me,
Wow.
and a minus respect for Johnny.
Minus.
Legacy points.
I don't think it can go into negatives.
We can
No.
now. You
It's an-
skewed
it's an-
more
it's
than
an
one scale
absolute-
this
It's an
episode.
absolute integer. It can only be 0 or higher.
Nope.
So Jay, you gave it as a 1, right? Because that's how
Yeah.
math works. Okay,
I
thank
believe
you.
I
just
can't
wanted
give
to-
it a 0.
I'll let
sorry.
you give it a 0.
No, I don't think
Nah.
you can do that.
He doesn't deserve to.
That'll break my calculator.
Come on,
which
break
is
the
my brain.
record.
Don't worry, the spreadsheet would take it just fine. I'll
Yeah,
handle
would it? Yeah. Okay, that's good. All right. I don't really have much to say either. I think we've all beaten this show to death. It's I did like production wise, it was fine too. I didn't love the art style, but it objectively was just fine. Voice acting, same thing. Good music throughout the show, but that doesn't make it a better show. I did laugh a couple times during the show, but again, it was always I'd laugh and then I'd go, "Ah, but I'm laughing at the fact.
Now you hate yourself.
Well, no, I'm laughing at the show that is trying to make incest justified in any way, and I just could not get behind that. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. I don't think I've given any show ever a 1 yet, but this joins my little sisters among them as one of my other 2s on the on Mal. So and Blood Blockade Battlefront. So yeah, it's in good company down there. That averages our total score out to a 1.857. So a 1.86. Pretty good score, gotta say.
I can't believe we broke the Blood Blockade.
I have the
Battlefront.
2 lowest rated shows of all time.
That's
So
impressive,
happy
Johnny.
this beat it.
Right now.
Let me see what the
Galaxy's
average.
like. Galaxy's like, no,
Okay,
wait, I want to give it a 1.
Okay, Oreimo season 2. Let's break the record.
It's
Yeah.
Start your own
Uh,
podcast for that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I can't leave my other clown here by himself.
You already
Yeah.
made that joke.
Oh, continuity, Peter.
Anyways, all right, let's move on. Let's stop discussing Oreimo. We did it, boys. We made it to the other side. Hopefully, there's no OVA at the end of this season.
Yeah, there is.
Though it was there was a joke about us, Johnny. That was a joke about us being the season. It's whatever. Anyways, let's talk about what we're watching next week. Miles, you've got the votes pulled up. What got third, second, and first?
Yeah, let me scroll over because I was updating my pivot table to tell me what Johnny's average rating for a show is. And it's going to be below 4.9, so we'll figure it out later. I want to good job, us, community, everyone. A lot of participation this week. That might have been because Pete was stumping pretty hard for his show, which is, of course, legal. So in third place, we have the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, earning itself a 3rd or 4th legacy point. In second place, with a showing that would have won essentially any other week in the history of Watch Club, we have Licorice Recoil, but I don't imagine that gets re-upped. And in first place, we of course have Rosario Vampire Season 2.
Woo!
Damn it.
No, we have Cyberpunk.
Let's go.
So we will be watching Cyberpunk in 2 weeks, and I've only heard good things about that. So I am excited to give that a go.
I've also only heard good things, but one of my buddies, first thing he said is, "This reminds me of Akudama Drive" when he started watching it,
Perfect.
and
10 out of 10.
and I said, "Oh no," and he said, "No," in a good way, and I was like, "Okay, that could," and he's the one who also hates it, or hates the ending, so that makes me feel better at least about it. We'll have to see. I don't know. I gotta dig up my Netflix password and get on that show. But perfect. All right, let's talk about nominations. This time we'll be nominating shows that we'll be watching on the 17th of October, so about a month from now. Miles, what show do you have to nominate?
We have strayed from the light of God, and it is important to repent and return to our roots as what we truly are, and that is a Satoshi Kon podcast. So I'm going to be nominating Millennium Actress.
Yeah.
Might as well just finish out the filmography. We need it. I need a palate cleanser.
Love it. Love the pick.
Fair enough. Alrighty, what about you, Kat? What have you got?
So, I never thought that I would be nominating a show that I don't like have an opinion on one way or the other. Like I haven't heard too much about it except for Miles being up its ass. But I guess for like the third or fourth time, I'm re-upping Haruhi Suzumiya.
And I'm voting for it, so there you go. All right, Haruhi is the nomination from Cat Galaxy. What's your first ever nomination for Watch Club?
My first ever nomination will be The Case Study of Vanitas.
Nice.
It is a historical vampire shonen set in 17th century Paris, which is also steampunk.
Some of that sounded cool to me. I'm excited. All right, let's check it out. Johnny, what about you?
I was just gonna originally pick another horrible show because apparently you guys like it when I nominate really bad shows because those are the only ones that I've nominated that have won. But I think we all deserve a break, so I'm gonna nominate something I actually want to watch this time. So I'm gonna nominate the 2020 movie A Whisker Away. I think it looks really nice, and I just want to watch it and have a good time.
It was
Adorable.
good. It was a great movie. I like that movie a lot. All right, Pete, what have you got?
I'm also thinking palette cleanser. I was originally thinking link click, but I think Jay's probably the only person that would vote for it. So I'm
It does well. It has 2 legacy points.
do I want to do link click then? If as man,
Let me tell you exactly how many legacy points it
I
has.
wasn't planning on re-upping it if that helps your decision.
It
at
has
all.
1 legacy point.
I just have a yeah. But I also think the other show. I don't know if people actually want a palette cleanser like I do. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do link click.
All right, link click. All right, and then Jay, what about you?
I'm also going to nominate a palette cleanser, but I'm going to nominate something that seems pretty funny. I'm nominating Detroit Metal City.
Ooh, nice. Rifle is voting for that. He loves that show.
Alrighty. And then I will just I actually will re-up Licorice Recoil because I'll be looking for a reason to watch it other than finally forcing myself to sit there and binge it. I know the final episode comes out I think this Saturday or Sunday, so yeah, Licorice Recoil. Let's watch some cute girls with guns do some badass things. But yeah, I think that wraps up Watch Club for the week of September 19th. So why don't we kick it to Pete to close the show?
Yeah, if you made it this far and you want to support us, the best way to do so, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you are listening or watching us on. Next episode, we will be doing the summer review where I will be talking about shows like Licorice Recoil. So tune in for that. Otherwise, if you are here for Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for Cyberpunk Edge Runners. And I'll give a shout out to Mako. Happy birthday. So thanks, and we will see you next time.
Peace.